Hi guys, welcome to Piece of Code and welcome to this video. And before moving into this video guys, I just wanna thank you guys because I recently reached 1000 subscribers. It means a lot to me guys, because if I find that my videos are helpful to you and you are getting a lot from my videos, then it inspires me to do a lot more. And don't worry guys, I have a lot of things in place, and I have a lot of different ideas that I want to create videos on, and this will help you guys a lot, I think. So yeah, keep spreading the love guys, and thank you for it. And let's go into this video without wasting much time. So we're going to continue with our Java OCA crash course series. Sorry. And in this video we're going to discuss about methods. We're going to continue with methods, and we're going to see how we are passing data in methods, the difference between call by value and call by reference, and why Java only supports call by value, some tricky questions, then we're gonna see method overloading, and then more tricky questions, right? So it's gonna be a really fun session guys, and I hope you guys like it. Right, so first of all, let us see how we can pass data in methods. So I'm gonna just go over here, and I have a package named methods. I'm just gonna create a new class in here, and I'm just gonna name this class as passing data, and I'll need the public static void main, so I'm just gonna click here. So this is my class. Alright guys, so let's create a method first, and I'm gonna say static void, I don't know, change, and I'm gonna take a integer int num over here, and I'm gonna do one thing guys. See, you already know the signature of a method, right? We have the return type, which is mandatory, the method name, and the list of parameters, and this is how you actually pass the data into the methods, right? We're gonna just see how the data actually works with the method. Is this kind of data actually changes the caller or not? We're gonna see that, and in that particular procedure we're gonna also see if this is a pass by value or pass by reference that is happening over here. So let's do one thing. Let's do num equals to 10, and let's take this over here. Let's say int x equals to 5, and we're gonna say change, and we're gonna pass x into the change method, and after that we're gonna print the value of x over here. So see, you need to understand what will be the output in this particular scenario, and if you guys have guessed that the output will be 5 over here, then you are probably correct, because see, what happens in Java is that when I pass x over here, I do not pass the location of x. In simple terms, I do not pass the address of x, but I only pass the value of x, which is 5 in this case. Sorry, right? And I can use the value which is 5 in this method. That's what it means. If I reassign it to a different value, it will not change the original value of x, because we are not passing the address of x or the pointer to x. We are just passing the value of x, which is 5. That's why even if we do whatever over here, we are just taking the value and using it in this method. So that's why this is known as a pass by value mechanism. Pass by value mechanism. So if we run this code, right, you will see the output that I have tried to explain to you. Java application, you'll see the output is 5, because we are only passing the value, we are not passing the address or the reference. And pass by reference work in other languages like C, Perl, but I can't be able to show you how reference works in those languages because we are learning Java over here. But remember that in Java it only supports pass by value, right? So if you have some other stuff, like for example string webby equals to webby, and I have another method, for example static void string change, and I'm going to accept a string. So this is kind of where people get confused, and that's why I'm trying to show you. It's very simple guys. And you will think why I'm showing you this, because people get confused in the exam. I'm gonna say bird. So if I say string change and if I pass in webby and I see webby, then basically what will be the output in this case? In this case the output will still be webby, because you can see that only the value is being passed and we are just reassigning over here. But as the value is only passed, it's not going to affect the original variable over here. The thing I wanted to show you over here is that here both the variable names, this local variable name and this variable name is webby. So you may get confused in the exam that okay, we are passing the same variable over here and we are accepting it same over here, so it may change it. But that is not the case, guys. Even if you have the same names over here, the fact that it only passes by value will remain the same, right? And here parameter list, you can name it as anything, I don't know, banana or whatever the same name you want, you can name it, but pass by value is the fact that remains constant. So if we check it out over here, then the value is still webby over here. Now another interesting thing, or this is a very simple thing that happens, is that they may try to do this. Instead of doing void, let me just copy this method over here from here and paste it over here. They will say string, and I'm going to name it as return to make things a little bit more easier. So I take the webby, I change it to bird, and I return back webby, right? So now if I do webby equals to string change return and I pass in webby, and if I do a sysout over here, then if I check for webby, then see what will be the output. Now you can see it is bird. Now the fact that it is passing by value still remains the same, but here it's what makes a little bit trickier. You will see that now it is being passed by reference. That's not the case. What we are doing is we are accepting the parameter which is webby over here, right? We are changing it to bird and we are returning it back. And when we are returning it back, we are reassigning that value which this method returns to the original variable. So we are changing the original variable over here. So that is why you can say that yes, that is changing over here, the value is changing over here, but it is changing only because this particular method is returning a new value and it is being assigned back to this webby variable. I hope that makes sense. Alright, so let's move on to some other tricky scenarios. Let's consider this. String builder equals to new string builder, and I'm going to just make it a small string. I'm going to create a simple string that is Akash. If you are worrying about the syntax of string builder, please refer to my string builder video. I have explained this in depth and in detail. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another method over here. Let's copy this out, and I'm going to just name this method as change string builder, right? And string builder, I don't know, builder, oh sorry. And what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to say builder.append I don't know, Kumar, with a space over here. That's my name actually, if you guys don't know. Now what will be the output? Now it's sorry, it's a little bit trickier over here to understand at first, but I will make things a little bit clearer. So let's first of all run the code and let's see what will be the output. So we have this change string builder method. I'm just going to say change string builder, and I'm going to pass in the builder over here, and then I'm going to just say a sysout, and I'm just going to say builder. Right, just going to display the value of the string builder. Let's see the output, guys. You can see that I had initialized the string builder with the value Akash over here, created a new instance of string builder with the value Akash. Then I passed the builder into this change string builder method, and when this dot append method happened, I appended a Kumar over here, and still it got reflected over here. Now you may get confused that, okay, now it is passed by reference because it's an object. That's still not the case, guys. It may look like it is being passed as reference, but it is not passing by as reference. See, what happens over here is that when I create a new instance of string builder, like, let me take the black color. Okay, when I created the value of string builder, right, I created a new instance of string builder with the value Akash. So in the heap, this happened. A new instance of string builder was created with the value Akash. Now if you see over here, I am passing the same instance, the same object into this change string builder method over here, right? So we are not reassigning or something like that. We are passing the same instance of string builder over here, and I am doing an append on the same object. And if you remember, that string builder is a mutable class, right? If you remember, if you try to change or do something on the same instance, then it is reflected on the same object itself. So when I do a append, when I do a builder.append, I append on the same instance, right? So I'd say plus Kumar. Now this particular thing, this particular builder that you see over here, that is coming over here, this builder is also pointing to the same object over here, right? That's what I mean. So if, to make things clearer, let's make it S over here, right? As a S.append, and if you see, it will still work the same. So the builder and the S, these are all what? Reference variables. These are pointing to the same object. If I do a S.append Kumar, that I did there, over there I did this, right? I did this. So this Kumar will get appended to the same object. So it will be Akash Kumar over here. We are changing the same object, guys. That's what I'm trying to focus on the whole time. So that is why it is working over here, but it is still not passed by reference, guys. It's still passed by value, right? I hope that makes sense, guys. I hope you will not get confused in the exam. And let's talk about one last tricky question before we wrap up this particular topic of passing values into the method. And see, let's take this example. I'm gonna say this. Let's start with here, over here. Let's take int number equals to 1, and let's say string letters equals to, I don't know, ABC, and let's say I have a number method. Let's create a number method over here. I'm just gonna say static int number, and I'm just gonna say int number, and I'm gonna say number plus plus. This will actually clear up all of your doubts, guys. Then return number, right? And I'm going to also create, while I'm doing this, I'm going to also create another method static string letters, and I'm going to accept a parameter string letters, and then what I'm going to do is let's do this thing, letters. We're going to append something, plus equals to, I'm going to say D, and then return the letters. So that should be it. And over here I'm gonna say number. I'm gonna call the method number, and I'm gonna pass in number, and then I'm gonna say letters equals to letters, and I'm gonna pass in the letters, right? And I'm gonna say sysout. I'm gonna say number plus letters. Now this will test you in a lot of other stuff. It will also test you on the concatenation property. All right, it will also test you on how Java supports pass by value and a lot of other stuff. So you have to tell me what will be the output in each phase. Just tell me the final output. You can pause the video and you can type it down in the chats or whatever, or you can just follow along and see the answer with me. All right, let's run the code and see the output. It's 1 A B C D. It's 1 A B C D. See, the problem is over here. Actually, there's no problem. The approach to solving this question is pretty simple. First of all, we declare a number which is 1, and we declare a string which is ABC. Then we pass in the number over here inside the number method. Now, to make things a little bit trickier, I have given this int return type, because I had explained, right, when we return something and we reassign it to the original variable, then it changes, but it's still passed by value. But over here, to make things a little bit trickier, I'm returning the number value, but I'm not reassigning that number value to this number. So even though this number is getting incremented over here, it's still 1. So now you can be perfectly sure that the value of number is still 1 even after this method, right? Then comes this letters. Now here what I did is in the letters method, I append D over here and return back the new value of letters, right? And I reassign it to the original letters. Now what happens? The letters initially was ABC, then it got appended with D, and I returned it back. Now it got reassigned to the original letters. Now it is A, B, C, D. Now at the end, I say number plus letters. Now if you remember, the general property of concatenation is that if one of the variables is a string and another one is an integer, then it will automatically get converted into a string. So it will not act like addition plus, it will in fact act like a concatenation plus, right? So that's why the value of number is 1, and then we have ABCD with the letters, so the final output is 1 ABCD. Now remember guys, don't get confused when you see this kind of questions, and always remember that Java uses pass by value. At any scenario when you see something is happening like a pass by reference or something, it's actually not the case. Alright guys, let's move on to the next topic, which is method overloading. Let's see what is method overloading, right? Now we know that the signature of a method goes, actually the required method signature goes like this. We have the return type, then the method name, and then we have the param list, right? That's what we have over here. These are the required things in a method signature. Other things like the access modifier, the static keyword, the final keyword, these are all not mandatory. So we are not going to work with that. We're not going to worry about that right now. Now what is method overloading? In method overloading, we can have multiple methods with the same method name. It means that I can have a method fly and I can have another method fly, but the only difference is that it should have some difference in the param list. Now you can say that, can we have some difference in the return type of the methods? If I have 4 different methods, the param list is same, the method name is same, can I have a difference in the return type and still it will be overloaded methods? No, that is not the case. That the golden rule of method overloading is that your param list should differ. Your exception list, your method name obviously should be same. Your return type is irrelevant in this case. The only thing that should differ at least a little bit is your param list or your parameter list. Let us see some examples and you will understand what I mean. So I'm going to create a new class over here. I'm going to name this class as overloading methods, and over here I'm gonna need the main method. See, I don't know why I created the main method. I don't need it though, but whatever, let's keep it. Let's create this method void, I don't know, public void fly, and I pass in int num miles, right? And oh sorry, it's not an abstract method, my bad. Then let's create this public void fly and short, I don't know, num feet, something like that. See, the thing is here we have the fly method, which is the same name, but the difference is in parameters. One is int and one is short. There is a difference in the data type of the parameters. Cool. Now let us create some other methods. We can say void fly, and we can say int num miles, int num feet, whatever. Now you can see that this is different because now it has two parameters instead of one. And let's copy this thing and let's paste it over here, and let's change it back a bit, and let's say we're gonna add we're gonna change this. Actually, we're gonna say, make it short over here, and we're gonna say short num feet and int num miles. Now you can see that both of these methods have the same number of parameters. In fact, the parameters are exactly the same, but they are in different order, right? This is the num miles comes first over here, then comes the short fit over here, and then but first over here the short num fit comes, and then the num file comes after that. So it is perfectly possible to do this, because see, in method overloading, I've already told you the golden rule is that there should be some changes or differences in your parameter list. And if you see all of these examples, the differences that I made are in the parameter list. Even though the difference is very small, like this one, like I just changed the order, it still works. So you should keep that things in mind. And if I do something like this, if I have a void fly, public void fly, and if I just copy paste this and paste it over here, and I have a public int fly, then there is an error over here. It says a duplicate method. So Java doesn't care if you have a different return type, if your method returns a void or an int. It only cares if your parameter list is different, right? I hope that makes sense. Great. Now let me just comment this out. So if I have a throws exception over here, then also it's completely fine. Method overloading only cares about this parameter list, the difference in parameter list. Even if you have an exception thrown in some method or something like that, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. I hope that makes sense, guys. And also, if you have another method like static void fly and int num miles, and still it will not work, still it will say a duplicate method, because I told you, right, static, final, whatever access modifiers doesn't matter with your methods. Only the difference should be in your parameter list of your method signature. Then only method overloading will work in that case. So yeah, this is what you should keep in mind, guys, because it's very, very important to understand these differences, right? Let's see one more example, and let's then wrap it up. I'm going to create another method, void call methods. I'm doing this because I have already not assigned static to all these methods, so I cannot call in this static method, right? So I'm just going to use this method to call all of these methods. I want to show you an example over here. See, and I'm going to explain this example in a lot more in depth in some time in this video, but first of all, let's see what happens. So we have a short num feet and a int num miles, right? So I'm gonna go over here, the method, I'm just gonna say short num feet was called, and I'm just gonna show you which method is being called when I call a particular method. It's confusing to just explain, but you will understand once I show you what I mean. Int num miles was called, whatever. Let's try this out. I'm just gonna say void. I'm gonna call this method fly, and if you see, there are multiple variations of fly that is shown over here because these are all overloaded methods. So I'm gonna say fly, and I'm gonna just say pass in 10 over here. Oh, let me run it like this. What happened? It got terminated. Oh, sorry, I need to call this method again. Alright, so what I'm gonna do over here, I'm gonna create a class, an object of overloading methods. Overloading methods equals to new overloading methods, and then I'm gonna say methods dot call methods. Right, let's see. Num miles was called, guys. It says num miles was called. Interesting. So when I pass in 10, so see, by default in Java we already know that every number is treated as an integer by default. So when I say 10, when I pass 10 over here, then by default this method is being selected because this is an integer, and which method has an integer as a parameter? This method. So it gets selected over here. So how do I explicitly call this short? How do I explicitly call it? Now I can say this thing. I have to like explicitly make it a short variable or a short value. Then you can see the short numfit was called. So this is one of the things that I wanted to show you guys, and we're gonna cover this in detail, like the chaining of methods, like how the overloaded methods are being considered in a sequence. We're gonna discuss about that in a minute, so don't worry about it. So I hope this overloading methods basics are okay. Now let us look at some other features of overloaded methods, and let us talk about varargs now, guys. We already know that we can have varargs as arguments. I can create a void fly. I can say int with a 3 dots, and I can say length. Right, so this is a vararg, and generally varargs are treated as arrays. So what if I do this? What if I do this void fly, and I'm gonna say int length. Now I see there's a problem over here that is occurring, and it says duplicate method. Why? We have a vararg argument over here, and we have a length argument over here. Why is it acting like this? See, varargs are treated as arrays in this scenario, right? Because we can do lengths of 0 over here. Like we can treat this length argument that is coming as varargs over here as a array. Now if you have the same kind of argument which is also an array over here, it says it's a duplicate kind of method, because this is also an array, this is also an array. Java considers it like that, because you see, when I try to call this fly method which has a vararg argument over here, I can do this. I can say fly 1 2 3 4 5. In this case, this particular method is being called, and even if I do this new int 1 2 3 4 5, so this I'm passing an array as an argument, still it works because this one accepts arrays as well, because varargs are also arrays in this case, right? So obviously they will not compile the same. I mean, if I'm gonna uncomment this, then Java will think that okay, both are duplicate methods, because here we are also accepting arrays, here are we also accepting arrays, which is not the case in method overloading, because the parameters must differ. Alright guys, so this was some good amount of knowledge on overloading. Let's move on to autoboxing. Now let's talk about autoboxing in method overloading, and let's see how it is important, right? So what is autoboxing? In general terms, autoboxing, if I give an example, right, when we create an array list of integer, and you know that collections framework work with only wrapper types, right, or reference types. So when you pass an integer into the add method of an array list, it is automatically converted to an integer, right? That is autoboxing, and we have covered this in detail in my previous video, so it's there, you can go and have a look. So how it is related to method overloading over here? So let's take an example. We already have this int num miles over here. Let me create public void fly, and let me take an integer num miles, right? And let's keep a sys out over here and say integer num miles is called. Now let me just, for the sake of this example, let me just comment this out, this int num miles, and let's call this fly with 10, and let's run the code. So you can see integer num miles is called. So automatically what is happening, this int is being converted to an integer type, which is this one. So it accepts int also. That's what Autoboxing does in this particular example. What we keep both of the versions alive in this case. We have the primitive type num miles over here, and we also have the reference type integer over here. What happens? What does this particular method call in this case then? You can see it is calling int num miles over here. It's not calling integer over here. And if I pass fly new integer 10, then if I try to run it, then you can see that integer is called. Now the thing is, in method overloading, Java always tries to invoke the exact call first. What do you mean by exact call? If you are passing an int over here, then it searches for a method which has a int data type over there. As there is a int data type over here, so this method calls this int over here, this int type. And if the exact match is not found, then it goes to a broader type or to a reference type, right? So the next exact match is integer. So if we don't have this method, this int method over here, then this integer is called, because that is the next match of an int, right? And using the concept of autoboxing, this 10 is automatically converted to this integer type. I hope that is making sense. But as we have in this case we have another version of fly method which also accepts the primitive type int. So this method actually, this one is invoked, and for this one gets invoked, because here we are specifically passing an integer type, an integer wrapper type. I hope that makes sense, guys. Alright, now taking account of this example, let's try to work with more reference types. So I presume I have a string fly. Oh, I don't have it. So let's create this method with a string type. So let's say fly and string, I don't know, let's take a s, and I'm gonna see a sys out over here. The string type is called, right? And over here let's take a void fly, and I'm gonna say object o, and a sys out over here, and I'm gonna say the object type is called. Now that should work in this case. Let's see. And if I go over here in this call methods function, I say fly, and let's pass in a string, right? That's okay. And let's see what method is being called. So see, the string type is called, right? Okay, let's do this thing. Let's comment out this string type, and let's see now. See, the object type is called now. Now I've told you, right, first of all, Java tries to match the exact type. If the exact type is not present, then it goes for the more broader type, right? So by that logic, an object can accept anything, right? An object can hold anything. In Java, object is the parent of all classes, so it can actually store any reference type. So a string is also a reference type. So here in this case, this object accepts it. That's why there is no error over here, and that method is called. So this is where the exam tries to trick you guys, that yeah, it takes an object type and it passes a particular reference type over here in the caller method, and you'll find it a little bit confusing. But try to remember that in method overloading, Java always tries to match the exact type. If the exact type is not present, then it goes for a little bit broader type. And it's also same for primitives also. It's also same for primitives. It means that if I have a void fly and I have a long num miles over here, right? And long type, right? Now see over here, if we do not have the int over here, right, if I do not have the int over here, then a long can accept an integer, right? So if I let's say I comment out this int over here, and I have already called the I don't know, this 10 as an int, right? So if I see this integer is called, let's also, you know, comment out this, because that's a integer wrapper type. Okay, now it should be fine. Now you can see that the long type is called over here, because see, this 10, first it finds primitive type int, it tries to match with the primitive type int, it is not present, as I've already you know, commented this out. Then it tries to find its exact wrapper type, which is integer, I have also commented this out. And then it goes for a more broader type, which is in this case a long, and I have a long num miles over here. See, a long data type can hold an integer, but an integer cannot hold a long type. I mean, if I say 10L over here, then this long type will get called. The long type will get called because the long can accept a long, that is fine. But if I just comment this out, this long one out, and I uncomment both of these integers, okay, let me uncomment it one by one. Let me uncomment it one by one, right? If I do this thing, okay, I also have an object type, so you know what, let's also uncomment this object type over here. Now you can see there is an error over here. It says the method fly integer is in the type overloading method is not applicable for the arguments long. It's simple as that, right? A smaller data type cannot hold a larger data type. Simple as that. You have to explicitly cast it to a smaller data type. So in this case, we have an integer and we have a wrapper type integer. Both cannot hold a long type. Simple as that. And we do not have any broader data type than long, or a reference type than long, because we had that object type which was accepting the long, because object is the parent of all classes, so it works in that case. But remember that in this scenario it doesn't work in this case. If I uncomment the long over here, then it will work fine, because it finds that long data type, right? I hope that makes sense. So always in method overloading, remember one concept, that the Java always tries to find the exact data type match first. If the exact data type match is not present, then it looks for a larger data type. You cannot pass in a data and you think that a smaller data type will accept it. It means that if you are passing an integer, don't expect that a short will accept it, because a short data type is smaller than an integer data type. I'm trying to say it again and again and again and again, because this is a really confusing concept, guys. You have to practice it on your own first, and then you will get it, right? I hope this makes sense. Now, with going through all of these things, I have a chart for you guys, a small table for you guys, which will help you remember the order of execution of overloading methods. If I go over here into this method, right, and just let me say full screen. So there is a method glide12, right? I'm calling glide12. Now by default, you see these are all integers. These are all integers, because by default when you pass in a number or use a number in Java, it is integers. So see, it will try to do an exact match by type. So public string glide, it will first find this primitive type ints, two ints first, which is int I and int j. That is fine. Then if it is not present, then it will look for a larger primitive type, which is long I and long j, right? And then if it is not present, then it goes for a autoboxed type, which is integer I and integer j, and then it will look for a varargs, which is int nums, right? And if it is even not present, then it will, if you have much more broader type like an object I don't know, x and object y as parameters, then it will also go till there. But I haven't gone till object over here. So let's see. In this case, you can see it first matches by exact type, then larger primitive type, then autobox type, then varargs. And if You have objects, it will also go till objects now. So you create overloaded methods, and basically you have multiple overloaded methods with broader types. If the match is not present as the exact type, then it goes to the next broader type, then it goes to the next broader type, and then it goes to the next broader type. I hope that is making sense, guys. Don't get confused. If you get confused, please watch this video again and again to make your concepts clearer. I hope that is making sense, guys. Alright, so let us I hope that this particular concept is clear. Let's see one more example, and let's see what is happening over here. It's a trickier question, that's why I wanted to show one last example, and then we'll be done with the session. Let's go over here and let's create another class over here, and let's name this class as too many conversions. See, now in this case what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to do a tricky question. So what I'm going to do is, so in this class let me just create two methods. Let's say public static void play, and I'm going to say a long L. It's a wrapper type, guys, so just remember public static void play, and I'm gonna say let's say a long triple dot, which is basically vararg, and let's say L, and it should be fine. And let's take a main method and let's call these methods one by one. I'm gonna say play 4, and I'm gonna say play 4L. I hope that is making sense. Now there is a problem over here, and there's a problem. What is the problem is that Java is happy to convert the int 4, which is over here, you see, right, to a long 4 or an integer 4. That is fine, but it cannot handle converting in 2 steps to a long and then to a capital long, which is a wrapper type. So that is why it is throwing an error over here, right? But if we had this thing, public static void play, if we had a object O, then there is no issues over here. As I've told you, right, in this particular slide, that it goes on to the broader type, goes on to the broader type, goes on to the broader type, and at the end, if you have an object type, then it will automatically match with everything, because an object can accept anything. It is simple as writing this thing, object A1 equals to 10. It works because object is the parent of all classes. It can hold any value. That's it. So always remember that your conversions that is happening in method overloading, that is autoboxing and whatever you are doing, it will first start with the exact type, and then it will go step by step. It cannot convert in 2 steps. You cannot expect an integer to be converted to a long first, primitive long, and then to a wrapper long. It doesn't work like that. It will just go to the next broader type. You have to remember that. If you remember that, then you will be good with method overloading. I hope that is making sense, and I hope everything is wrapped up for you guys. And if you have more doubts, you can just watch the video again and again to clear all your doubts. Okay. Alright, so with that in mind, and we are done with the session. Thank you guys for watching the session. I hope this is helpful to you guys in the exam and also in your day-to-day coding life. So yeah, that's it from my side. I'm going to see you in the next video. Till then, have a nice day. Bye-bye.